now we've got to talk about a quick topic, right, which is, since last year, probably the most depressing part of the year to me, beyond the obvious, was when all the fucking players in NA just left and went to Valorant and then all pretend like, oh, I love this game, haha. And it's like, do you? Do you though? Do you love Shazam and Boaster being two of the best players in the whole world? Is this real, is it? There's no Twilight Zone episode. This is actually my life now, is it? And then they're like, when are you coming over, Thorin? It's like, are you fucking kidding me? What are you talking about? That's like saying, you want to hop in this hot tub? And it's all like fucking 70-year-old men in there. Nah, I reckon I'm fine, mate. I think I'll just go and have a fucking rest. Don't think I need to get in the hot tub. I think that matters past me. So here's the thing. One of the things about the move to Valorant that I've been waiting for is, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure, especially as the year goes on, there's going to be some people who don't like Valorant, or the career doesn't work out there. And even though now NA is in terrible trouble, they don't have any teams, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, even Team Liquid and EG themselves keep taking turns and just coming to Europe. Like, there's no competition there largely, which, by the way, props to people like Pain Gaming who are making up for that and taking wins there while everyone else is away. But I'm waiting for who's going to come back the other way. Because some of the people we lost, some of them definitely can play in CS. I'm thinking of names like Nitro, obviously the guys who were in Cloud9, Zephyr, Floppy. These guys can all play CS right now. It's just, do they have a team? Is there a team that can be? So a name I saw, and it was very interesting the way he phrased this, who went to Valorant, but he's retired from Valorant, is Daps, who obviously was in the Gen G lineup last year. He was the in-game leader. And then briefly, I think he became their coach, and then he retired and went to Valorant or whatever. Now, if people don't know, he's someone I talked to across his career and tried to find, what teams he goes. I've even tried to get him in better teams or whatever, until I found out he actually does have one of those fucking Charlie Brown-esque level personality. He's like, oh boy, never works out for me. It's like, you have to believe in yourself, mate. How can I believe in you if you don't believe in? What is that? That's like so basically, if this was like fucking Blade Runner and I fell off the edge, I can't trust you to catch me, can I? You probably just fucking, oh shit, I'm falling as well. Like, we'd all be fucking dead, wouldn't we? So yeah, basically. And also, he doesn't have a personality, so it could be a replicant, right? No, anyway. So here's what I think, though. I've always tried to encourage him, by the way. I always thought he was a pretty good in-game leader. So I've always said, you shouldn't let them, cut you from these teams when standard all comes. You should fight for your spot and say, I made the team, I created it. I brought you in. What are you doing voting against me? I helped you get your position. So I personally hoped he was going to stay in CS. But I know at the time he said his preference was he would be a coach, but his preference was to play. And so I suspect, since no one of the top teams was going to give him a job, because remember, you want salary as well, I think that's why he went to Valorant, because they let him be a player still. So even though it just said that he retired from Valorant, he says retired from competitive play, you'll notice he did put in his tweet something like, I'll have something coming up about what I'm doing next or something, which sounded ominous. So it sounded to me like he's potentially open to coming back to CS in some capacity. Maybe that has to be as a coach again. I don't know. By the way, hasn't Evil Geniuses just lost their coach Zeus? And we all know that Stanislaw is the fucking body and Daps is the brain. Whatever, anyway, whatever, Straight Fire reference. Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Just watch it. He's the brains. He was the body. So whatever. I probably shouldn't have watched those movies when I was a child. Might explain a lot about where I am right now, Vince. You have to understand, mate, in the Northeast, this is why I actually know why America's just fucked as a culture, mate. Because we were way ahead of them. Now they're like, wow, and kids have access to the internet and violence and stuff. Mate, 8-year-old kids were like, oh, which is your favourite Nightmare on Elm Street? While we're at school, you know what I mean? That's an 18 movie. What? That's the sort of shit they were trying to ban. And we were just like, yeah, well, is your mum out? Right, well, pop that in. Sound. So anyway, there we go. That's the segment about why I'm fucked up. No, so getting back to Daps, I suspect he's coming back. Obviously, like I say, EG might be an interesting proposition. Also, would be cool if he came back in time to win that Gambit game. I did just put 500 on it. Can I, please? No, okay. Right. What do you think, Raging? Do you think Daps comes back to CS? Would you like to see him back in CS? I know he actually, in terms of when he was around, a lot of it was more overlapping with your time period. So what do you think?
I mean, now I don't know the guy personally, of course, but my initial thoughts are: if you've been in the CS game for X amount of year, you're past, you're in your mid-20s or whatever. I don't believe you're gonna have success in Valorant because your passion is not there. Unless you have some extreme attachment to this anime or whatever you want to call it, cartoonist universe. Yes. I don't see you switching from CS as then suddenly this Valorant CSGO killer is coming in and you're just gonna fall in love with that. I don't think that. For myself, I can speak for myself. I tried to look at it to what it was. As you just mentioned before, I'm banned for CS right now. Who knows if I'm ever gonna come back? I would love to, but is unknown for the time being. So I also look at other possibilities, and I was offered some jobs in Valorant as a coach, like for big teams, but I can't look myself in the mirror and like just say yes to that and don't have the passion for it. Like I don't want to do that towards an employee, you know, like for me, I don't want to be that guy just saying yes for the money, because that will be easy to do. But first of all, I'm not going to enjoy it, and I'm going to do a piss poor job, most likely, you know?
Sure.
So I think like these guys who is like, if you have a guy like Ethan, for example, like what is he, 21 or 20 years old?
Pretty young
like
still, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I can see that happening. Same with Floppy, like they're easily to kind of, their attention span is not as high as the older guys, you know. So I see them could get into this universe of Valorant, but the older guys, yeah, I definitely see them coming back at some point. Like, but that's two reasons for that. Like the first reason is like their passion is just for CS and not Valorant, and the second one is like Valorant is pretty huge, and all these new players coming in. You saw it in the start of CSGO as well. All these new players coming in took over a lot of the legends because there was no space for them, you know?
Yes.
And they just end up retiring and stuff like that. So it's going to be the same over again here in Valorant, I'm pretty sure of. And it's just a matter of time before like players like Hiko, Daps, or whoever the
old
fuck
school
they call
guys,
it,
yeah.
Mixwell, and all these players, they're just going to be like, okay, I'm done now, you know?
By the way, if people don't know, we're not hating on Valorant. That happens in CS as well. Like generations get replaced. I'm sorry, it's just how it is. You know, like people forget. I always say this. I should really make videos on some of these topics. I have some like fundamental theories I had over the years that like just bear out over time. So one of mine was that like 1 year in Counter-Strike as a pro is like 5 years in a sport. Because in a sport, if you're really good, like Messi isn't just going to be good in like when he's 25 and then when he's 30 be like, well, that's it, I'm totally done, can't play the game at all, I'm trash now. Like in CS, Olofmeister was done something mad like a year and a half later as like a superstar player. Like it doesn't last that long. Like your career's just way shorter. So yeah, agreed. By the way, obviously, listen, if I don't do it, the fans will hate me forever. So the obvious joke there was, that's right, Raging's giving you some advice there. What you got to do is sort of step outside yourself, see things from above, you know, sort of look at the whole bigger picture, see what everyone's doing, and then make a call, make a read, you know, figure out what the right move.
Make the right one, no?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's great advice. It's great. At least in this context, this particular Daps. So come on, Vince. What do you think?
I think for me, the fact that he's 27, which, you know, in CS terms is like a granddad. And, you know, if he comes back to Counter-Strike, I don't really see him coming back as a player, because if we're being completely honest, the NA scene has been kind of ripped to shreds. Where would he realistically go to play? Maybe he makes his own team. Maybe some more players come back. I'm not entirely sure. I think it would make more sense for him to come back as a coach. I think it would make a lot more sense, and I think he could offer a lot more at this point in his career, to be a coach and to maybe be like the voice of reason. He doesn't necessarily have the most, you know, direct personality that is going to win people over, or necessarily like be the leader of men, but I think he'd be a really good sort of second opinion, or someone that you could bounce ideas off. The guy clearly has a great mind for the game. And is also just a nice guy that people get along with. I can't imagine him rustling people's feathers up at all. So I think as a coach would make a lot more sense. And he did also say in his sort of goodbye tweet that it's no secret to people around me that I just don't enjoy playing anymore. Now, he didn't necessarily specify just gaming in general or Valorant. So maybe he comes back as a player, but I mean, if he did, like, where does he go? Like, what options does he realistically have as a player going back into Counter-Strike? I just can't think of many.
I mean, I can just say, like, from my own, like, just before CSGO exploded with salaries and all that, like, I had some pretty good offers from, like, MSL and stuff, creating a team, and I was like, I'm gonna take off. Yeah, and I went to Philippines for half a year, and I came back home, and salaries were exploding, etc., etc. This was why I stopped, because I couldn't financially, like, I just couldn't keep playing, because there was no gain in it for me, and I had to live, I have to eat, you know. So this is why I stopped. Then I came back and saw, okay, you can actually make a living now of it. So I tried to come back. And this year away I was, or like half a year, it's just milestones. Like it's light years, because like these young guys coming up, they are wrecking you, and you don't have the same reaction as they do and all these things. Yeah, you have the brains and all that, but it's just not enough anymore, you know. So for me, I just saw really fast like this I'm not gonna be able to do anymore. Like I was also fairly old, like 26 back then, you know, or something like that. Okay. And I just gave up the dream, and then I became a coach instead. But it's not that simple all the time. Like, hey, I'm just gonna become a coach because I'm a pro player. Yeah, but it's just very different, you know. Like,
sure.
For me, in the beginning of coaching, I remember I coached Copenhagen Wolves back in with the Glaive and Snappy and them.
All right.
And I was dog shit. Like, I can just say it straight out. I was so bad. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. Should I help assistant call? Like, I always been in-game leader. Should I help them call? Should I cheer them on? What should I do? You know, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, of course, nowadays there's a lot more info on it and stuff like that, and you kind of have an idea what you want to do and all these things. And I also, it took me like 4 years to become at least an average coach, I would say. And now, of course, I'm an amazing coach because I can see it from above. So
There we go.
I can take piss on myself if I.
All right.
No, but I mean, like, it just takes so long time, you know. And I think a lot of these players expecting to come in. I used to be a pro player, sign me, Evil Genius and stuff like that. They're not ready to do the climb again, you know.
Yes.
Like people probably don't like forgetting this. Before I was a mouse, I was, like I said, in Copenhagen Wolves, working for free. And then I joined Tricked, working for almost no money.
Yes.
For 2 years of my life, you know, like before even that, I even did that before like that, you know, like. So I didn't get any payoff really, like before 4 or 5 years into my coaching career, so to say. And that was also with my own playing career, you know, started in 2000, you know. Like my biggest salary was I think €250, you know, like, and just like I was amazingly happy with that, but it's really hard to support yourself when you have to pay rent and all that. So
definitely in Denmark, that goes without saying. Now here's the thing. This is how you know I've sort of like matured over the years and got boring, Vince. Because I'm going to tell both of you right now, don't say anything to this joke. This is a rhetorical question, and it's really important that nobody attempts to expand upon this joke. Now, with that said, fuck were you doing in Philippines? All right, one of those sorts, are you? Huh? I see. You just have to know what people like about it. I'll explain the joke to you after the show, Rich. Just don't even worry about it. So unreasonable. It's an unreasonable. Put it this way: if this was a Twitch chat, unreasonable is what they'd be putting in there. That's how you say unreasonable. And timestamp that if it was by the numbers. That's a definite timestamp. That. Whatever.
Timestamp that sound.
I kept it vague enough. Luckily, some of the kids might not know. Pause. Right, there we go. Right, completed that part of the joke. It's okay. We can all move on now. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then. Or, you know, be a pleb and don't.